Good morning. How about we take a stand and do the opening song with Reverend Blair Tabor? Yes, thank you. Good morning. This is Reverend Blair Tabor.
Good morning.
Where are you going there, Michael? Oh. All right, so Blair's going to start us off on our opening song. So thank you, Blair and Meredith, for being here.
Great, thanks for having us. So this is the chorus. God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through, divine ideas of all kinds. I know just what to do. So here's how it goes. God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through, divine ideas of all kind. I know just what to do. Got it? God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through, divine ideas of all kind. I know just what to do. Here's the little verse. My mind is the gate. I can create life heavenly, and all of my thoughts are working with God's pure energy. Here we go. God's mind is working. God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through, divine ideas of all kind. I know just what to... Now sing it like you mean it. God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through, divine ideas of all kind. I know just what to... Once more, let's sing it. God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through, divine ideas of all kind. I know just what to do. God's mind is working in my mind. Again, God's mind is working in my mind. God's mind is working in your mind too. Amen.
Say good morning to each other, greeting each other at the level of comfort that you are at. All right, circle the wagons. All righty now, we love each other. Yes, we do. We do, we do. Thank you. Okay. Oh, doesn't it feel good to connect? Really? I mean, I'm going to ask that question again. Doesn't it feel good to connect? We have a vivid memory in recent history of what it felt like to not have that privilege. Yeah. All right. So welcome to Unity of Flagstaff. I'm Reverend Penni Honey. It is my joy today to introduce to you Reverend Blair Tabor. Actually hails from California, but kind of everywhere these days. 10-week RV trip. So, and look, we were one of the stops. So yay us. All right, my friends, if you're here for the first time, I'll try not to embarrass you like I embarrass myself sometimes. But I just want you to know that we're grateful to have you here. And if you didn't get any propaganda at the door, then there was a mistake made. So make sure that we get that information from you if you are interested in staying on our mailing list. Yes, you will hear from me. And we're grateful to have you here. A lot of people all over the planet today that are finding a way to express their divinity, to be in their place of peace. We think about those folks for just this moment. Yeah, and we bless them. And we're grateful. And I'm really grateful you chose to be here to do that today. And also all of you out there on YouTube. Everybody wave, YouTube. There we go. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do want to, can I have a little PowerPoint back there, Sam? I do want to acknowledge National Hispanic Heritage Month. We've been talking about that a little bit. I have some fun facts. Actually, I had some, but I don't know where those are right now, so I must not needed those. But what I can tell you is, did you know that Mexican heritage is what brought us pizza? Did you know that? Seriously. My beautiful friend Mary Ann, she hates it when I do that, been friends since college. I said, hey, look up some fun facts, and that was the first one that popped up. Pizza was actually a product of Mexico. And so many other amazing things. So we are acknowledging that. And let's see. Oh, look, there's the fun facts. So who can pronounce that first name? I love it. Gonzalez. There we go. Created color TV. Mexican heritage is where that belongs. And Hispanic, I just want to remind us, means someone who comes from or is a descent from a Spanish-speaking country. And I gave you warning that the next thing that you're going to have to listen to are the reminders. Tomorrow night, Monday night, we're going to have our third open mic night, and it has been a blast, and it's been very successful. So please come out and join us. We've got amazing people. I think we had 8 different performers, poetry, music, comedy. It was pretty cool. Come on out tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. And if you're so interested in helping out with setting that up, then you see me about that, and we'll talk about it. I'm going to run this one more time. November 4th, Mystery Dinner Theater. Okay? You can be a participant, meaning you get to be a character in the theater, no rehearsals, no memorizing lines. Or you can be a spectator. This is a fundraiser. Let me say that again. This is a fundraiser. So we appreciate you coming out and having a good time and supporting this ministry in a fun and financial way. We appreciate that. I'm sorry? Oh yeah, so Trina's actually done one of these. Just real quick, we're gonna let her tell you how fun they really are. She's actually done one.
Yeah, I did one on Zoom a year or so ago when we weren't gathering in person, and it was just a blast. We came up in costumes. We didn't, like she said, we didn't rehearse ahead of time. We just got a script that said like who we were, you know, and you dressed how you felt that character would dress, and it was just fun. And then you kind of read along so that nobody really knew except the person who, even the people in the play didn't know who done it until the end, you know, and it was just so much fun. You know, you get to just dive into the role and be someone different and just get kind of crazy with it. So it was a lot of fun.
Thank you. See, testimonials on our fundraisers, I think we're pretty impressive. And then we want to also, again this week, say thank you to the October sponsors of the Unity Calendar. Today is your opportunity to buy a birth date. Now, I was thinking about that. I was thinking, well, could I buy one with a younger start date? Nope, that's not what we're selling. But you can put you or your loved ones on the calendar, and you can do that for $10. Helen will be out at the table out there giving you the opportunity to do that. Helen, do we have all of our months sponsored?
We have,
You know how I am about that.
we have the opportunity for 2 more sponsors. And what does the month sponsor do? They provide us with a beautiful picture and a quote. If you didn't have a quote, we'll find a quote that matches your picture. So don't worry about that. And it gets to be part of our beautiful calendar for 2023. All those squares at the bottom, those are birthday squares. Maybe you don't feel like you can handle the picture, but you sure would like it if someone said happy birthday to you on your birthday. And so for $10, you can get your birthday printed on the birthday calendar. Or maybe it's your grandchild or your good friend, and you just want to surprise them when they get the calendar for Christmas and find that their birthday is in it as well. So I'll be out in the hall after service.
Tell them that they don't have to tell how old they are.
Just the birthday, no years.
Is there any wonder why we have Helen do this, right? Right? Round of applause just for that. I am thinking, yeah, we just rock. And baby, it's cold outside. It's starting to feel that way. I went to see the leaves yesterday. Winter is on its way. We last year donated over 200 pieces of warm clothing to the Flagstaff Family Shelter. We can rock that and more this year. So we're doing that right now. Look, big box showed up. How about that? Yeah. Thank you, Dennis Homan. That about 4 times is what we did last year. And my little Mazda, I have pictures of it. I couldn't find them to put them on power slide, but I will. Filled to the brim. I was backing up into the doors to close it to get the coats to the shelter. So we can do that and more. Thank you for that. All right. Now, let's see. Did we get everything done? Open mic night, mystery dinner theater, support our celebration calendar. Baby, it's cold outside. By the way, that's coats, gloves, scarves, hats, etc. And next Sunday, I'm going to feed those Course in Miracle people lunch again, so I'll see you here at noon. We're going to do our Course in Miracle Circle. All right. And we want to remind you that this quarter is the Literacy Center. They are the people that we are supporting this quarter through our Helping Hands project. On the 22nd of October, did I get that date right? I got that right, okay. We're going to be making bookmarks, and that's all right. It's probably God. All right. We're going to be making bookmarks. I think we are. There we go. On the 22nd. So let's connect and craft and do that. And those bookmarks will then be used at the Literacy Center. So not only do we give 20% of our 10% tithe as a tithing ministry to the Literacy Center for the next quarter, we are also going to offer up this, and we're looking for opportunities to volunteer at the Literacy Center. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's kind of important that people learn to read. Just a little. So, Bonnie is going to show you some samples of what we're going to make with those bookmarks.
Talk to me after the service if you have any questions or want to know what we will be doing at the craft party.
It really is a lot of fun. Yes. And you know, when something like this comes up, Bonnie says, you know, we could make, and then you know what Bonnie does? She actually pulls all of that together and puts that we could do into action. Just a thought. All right, so here we go. Can I have a little prayer music, backdrop prayer music? Would you mind getting the lights? Thank you. Yeah. I still have the best seat in the house. Where's God? Right here. So we're breathing in. Quieting our minds, quieting our hearts. A lot of information to take in. A lot of doing. Spirit, we are in the flow of all that is good. We are resting in this time of quiet, and we recognize the joy of connection. Spirit, right here, right now. Thank you. So it is. So we let it be. My face. There we go. And now, it is my joy to introduce our platform assistant for today. This is Miss Alice Hagerman, and we have missed her on this platform, and we are grateful to have her back. So thank you, Alice. Come on up.
It's nice to be back. Now, is there anybody that doesn't know my name? If you would raise my hand, or your hand, my hand. Oh, that's right. I'm kind of married to one of these things still, just because. So, we're going to start with gratitudes and prayer requests. Now is the time to share what is happening with you, and the sharing, they added a lot of words to what I have to read, so. I'll have to rearrange this so it doesn't break. Anyway, in the sharing, we see the value of collectively affirming with you and those you pray for the presence of good in all things, and it is the one power. We also support each other in knowing that God, the universe, spirit, or whatever you call it, knows the details. Does anyone have a prayer request or a gratitude that they would like to share?
Most of you, not all of you, know Laura. She's the lady that I'm often here with. She wasn't here last week, and she's not here today because her daughter came up from Sedona with COVID, and then she mailed me through the iPhone yesterday. Her neighbor has COVID, so she's and she feels fine. Anyway, I just wanted to pass it on to you folks and keep her in mind, because she's my I lost my wife 7 years ago, and she's become a sweet friend, nothing more.
So I'm not going to touch that one, but I will, in fact, affirm that this is temporary. This is not the expression of her God health in its totality. And we see her healing, and we see her well, and her neighbor, and so it is.
Is anybody else?
Thank you. On our trip, when we were in Missouri, I met a man whose daughter has cancer, and he asked for prayer. Her name is Sarah Christensen, And then last night, Meredith and I stayed at family up on the north end of Flagstaff, and a friend from our congregation in San Diego years ago, and she's moving into the Bluffs tomorrow, and she's anxious. So her name is Esther Ayers, so you can be praying for her too.
So we are affirming perfect and divine order in this and all things. And we see Esther knowing that she's loved and she's supported, and God is right here, even at the Bluffs.
More at the Bluffs.
Reverend Blair is leaving for Israel on November 1st, taking a group of 29 people. And I just want prayers for a safe and easy trip to Israel. And back. Yeah, I do want you to come back.
And I ain't touching that one either. So Meredith, we are affirming that Blair and all those that he travels with and that travel around him are at peace, at ease, and they are enfolded in light, as there is nowhere they can go that God is not. So it is.
Anybody else?
This prayer is for our friend Julie, who is currently under treatment for breast cancer, that she may overcome the cancer and be whole and perfect as always.
And Laura, we are affirming that Julie is whole and perfect. We know that this is temporary, that she is the expression of God health, and she and all those that love her are at peace with that. So it is.
Yeah, you're holding the mic.
I have a prayer request for my grandson Joey. He was injured in a football game on Friday night, and they're hoping it's not an ACL tear, so they're waiting on an MRI for him.
So we are affirming Joey is the healthy, young, amazing being that he is, and that there is no place that Joey can be or experience that he has that is not surrounded in light. He's healing right now, and it's easy, fun, and done.
Somebody else? Seeing none. We are grateful for all the requests and good news that we have just heard. Again, we affirm that each condition, person, and situation is an expression of the divine. We claim love, wisdom, healing, and wholeness. And we remember that under no circumstances or changes separate us from the divinity, and so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. So I want to thank our prayer team member, that meets weekly, I believe. And anybody that's on the team would please raise their hand. These people are available for you if you wish to have a prayer with an individual. And or if you don't want to do that, there's this box over here in the corner by the piano that has forms that you can fill out if you have a request for a prayer. And all of these prayers go to Unity of Flagstaff, Unity Village, and the mothership, thank you. I know that word. And are prayed over by Silent Unity for 30 days. So, can we have we're going to have a principle, which have all changed since I had them.
Oh, yeah. Sam, can we have some PowerPoint, please?
I can't tell you what it is.
There you go. It's Unity Principle number 3.
Okay, we can all read, so let's do it. Thoughts have creative power to determine and experiences. And now I'm supposed to be inspirational. So I was working really hard on something else, and then I thought, well, that's not really appropriate what we're doing today. So, I don't know, I got put on my thinking cap. And because there's so much music in our service today, I thought, well, maybe it would be wise to talk about music. So I was thinking of words of songs, but I can't be inspirational about that because the creator of this song, the composer, was the one that put those words there. But we can respond to those things. And recently I've been thinking, actually just listening to words of songs, because there are a lot of those things that we can access. And in those, there's often something that you really want to or need to hear. And just when I was driving my car, and the lyric in the song was, "Music is the medicine of my soul." And I thought, I was quick writing it down because I didn't want to introduce or to forget what it was. But I was introduced to music when I was young. My mother loved to play her baby grand piano. However, there were 3 of us, and so there wasn't much time until we were in bed. But I fell asleep to listening to her play her classical music. She never played anything but classical music, and that's what I fell asleep to. And so to this day, whenever I hear music and there's a piano in it, I go and lock on to that because that was my, and essentially I love to hear the piano in pieces. I can't play the piano, but I can certainly listen and get something from it. So our lives are full of music. We sing with the radio. There is music to celebrate with, and there are sad times. We enjoy just singing. And one Sunday afternoon, I realized that one of the boys that lived in an apartment very close to me was singing. And he was just singing. There was nobody else talking or anything. And I thought, well, how great is that? You know, that whole joy of just singing. My music preferences growing up were all over the board. I drove my parents nuts when I decided to listen to a country music station in East Lansing, Michigan. But I had been visiting the library and getting Westerns out of the adult section. And so, you know, why not listen to country music? And then when I was in my late high school years, I discovered jazz. And I really have focused on that for really the major part of my life. There was a free jazz place we could go to in Detroit, Montreux thing. It was 3 days. And we went yearly, all 3 days, to hear the music and the artists that had come to entertain us. And so, but it was always an underlying thing. But during the hippie kinds of days, the Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Moody Blues and those people, I kind of got hooked into a little bit more. And then I got to, when I moved to Flagstaff, I discovered bluegrass. Well, I like that, but still, jazz was my foundation, I guess I would really call. And here at Unity of Flagstaff, we have 2 very talented musicians who share their inspirations on a weekly basis. There's Matt. And I swear he, whatever the service is going to be and the topic, he will come up with a new inspirational song to give us. And then Ryan Biter is same. He's not quite as regular, but his music is really inspirational as you listen to the words, and you really have to listen to the words. But I have several, this is a little bit crazier, but I have some CDs that I listen to, and there's some things in there that, you know, you can, especially at the moment you hear it, sometimes it's the one that you really needed to hear. But David Milgren has a song called Artichoke Heart. And it's hard to read it because you don't have the music behind it, but I'll try. So the line says, and it's not the whole song, so you don't have to worry about that. Life's not an onion giving nothing but tears. It's an artichoke, yeah. Just have to get past the hairy parts. I had lots of hairy points to get past in 2021, I'll tell you that. So here's another one, and it's very different. Often I go to the canyon and I find a quiet place and just sit. I'm not there to hike. I might take a picture or two, but it's just to sit and relax. And as Craig Childs says, you have to sit and then become part of the place. And so this one, when I went back to the car, again, it's David Milgren, and it came up on this song, and I just burst into tears because it was so much of what I had just done. But it says, have you ever heard a tree that talks through the silence with many sounds? Have you ever listened to a tree and felt your roots beneath the ground? So I got two more. So Katie Lang has a song called Shout It Out, or Sing It Loud. Shout it out, sing it loud. But it goes like this, and again, it's in a story of, it sounds like she's talking about the growth of a child, and she's now on her own. And it's sing it loud, sing it loud, so everyone knows who you are. Sing it loud, so everyone knows who you are. Sing it loud, sing it loud, so you remember who you are. So, at the right time, so, yeah. And one last one, a local artist, Dave Logan. Outside looking in. I ain't a passenger in the back of a bus, so let me out at the next stop, because there is a road that's better made for me. Why am I standing here looking in? It's a waste of time to go on living for less than we have dreamed. If I don't stand up now and take my place, someone else will take my place. So that's my...
Thank you,
What do I do now? Oh, no, it's going to be meditation time.
All right. Thank you, dear. Brandon, thank you.
So can we have the next slide? So this is, Alice talked about how, composers coming up with words, and this was, the first two lines really came when I was facing something that I didn't know what to do. And so I have two questions I ask God. One is, God, what do I need to know right now? And the second question, God, what do I need to do right now? So I ask God, what do I need to know right now? And the answer I got is, you're safe, which really applied to that situation. And what do I need to do right now? The answer was breathe. And so I was, it really helped me in that time, and it ended up turning into a song. So we're going to have this slide. I'm going to sing it to you, and then I'll sing it twice, and then the next slide, you get to sing it with me as well, and we'll change the you to an I. So I invite you to think that this is God singing to you. You are safe right now. Breathe right now. You are part of the one here and now. Love is your home. Release and let go. Peace here and now. You are safe right now. Breathe right now. You are part of the one here and now. And love is your home. Release and let go. Peace here and now. We can have the other next slide. Next line. There we go. Let's sing together. Ready? I am safe right now. I breathe right now. I am part of the one here and now. And love is my home. I release and let go. I am peace here and now. Sing it again. I am safe right now. I breathe right now. I am part of the one here and now. And love is my home. I release and let go. I am peace here and now. I release. I release and let go. I am peace here and now. I am peace here and now. I am peace here and now. I invite you to close your eyes if they're not already. And let's just breathe together a holy breath. And know that in the ancient languages, breath and spirit, wind are all the same word. So our breath really is the breath of God. And not so much that we are breathing God, but that God is breathing us. That living presence is breathing us with all that it is. It's life, it's wholeness, it's peace, it's joy, it's love. Every breath we breathe becomes an infilling and an anointing of those gifts of spirit. So just be with your breath. And in your mind, say the words, I breathe the breath of spirit. I breathe the breath of spirit. And think about everyone around the planet, not just people, but the animals that are breathing and the trees that are breathing and the movement of the wind. There is a flow that we are all a part of. A flow of life, a flow of energy, a flow of love. Sometimes we feel that we're standing on the sidelines, but we're right in the midst. See yourself as if you're on a kayak down this flow of God's life and love and joy, moving through the seeming obstacles, sometimes moving fast, sometimes moving slow. But every moment in the flow, every moment in the flow. And if there's obstacles in life, the flow just finds a way to go around them or over them, sometimes under them. But the flow always moves us on, till we find ourselves just in the moment, in the good, in the light, in the love. So let's take a moment just to breathe this flow with each other, with all of life. In the flow, in the silence. Thank you, dear Spirit, for these moments of being present to what you are, present to the reality of what we are as spiritual beings. We give thanks for that awareness of that oneness. Give thanks for that awareness of the flow that is always at work to move good into and through our lives, that we may be blessings in the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. Amen. Thank you, Penny. You've got a part. It'll come up. You'll know when it is. Out of the depths of God in me, there flows a radiant energy. From within shines the light that pours forth good for our delight. As we give, so do we receive. That's your part. As we give, so do we receive. You got it. Sing it again. And as we give, so do we receive. And when we live with God as source, the universe responds, of course. Live to give with the flow. Watch your good expand and grow. As we give, and as we give, so do we receive. Sing it to your neighbor. as we give, so do we receive. Eternal source of infinity is always here to flow through me. And as we let it through, our good expands anew, expands anew. Our hearts and minds send out the good that cycles back as our livelihood. And on the good unfolds, our abundance grows and grows. And as we give, so do we receive. You think it's true? Then sing it with me. As we give, so do we receive. Sing, as I give, so do I receive. As I give, so do I receive. Sing it like you mean it. As I give, so do I receive. Let's make it universal again. As we give. As we give, so do we receive. Give you one more chance. As we give, so do we receive. Amen. Well, and thanks to Sam for making me sound so good back there. So here we are. See this. There we go. Flow, F-L-O-W, forever living out of wonder.
That was his idea, not mine.
So we have been, as I mentioned, this is 10 week of our RV trip, and we've been to national parks and state parks all over, and just, it's amazing, just the beauty of nature and the wonderful connections. We were talking with one couple, and we said, well, I said, thanks for the conversation. He says, that's why we're here RVing, to make connections with people. And so there was just this joy that happens. And we know when we've had it, some of you, you talked about going to the Grand Canyon, and Robert, you said you live at the Grand Canyon and come over here. There's something that opens up inside of us as we do that. And we need that, because so many times when we're operating from a human point of view, we're sort of locked down into what isn't working. And this happened to Moses and the Israelites. If you remember, it's a long story. I'm just going to give you part of it. Moses had led them out of Egypt. They came to the Red Sea and they stopped. Turned around, here come the Egyptian army to come get them. And this is how much faith the Israelites had in Moses at that time. Here's what they said. Is it because there weren't any graves in Egypt that you brought us out here to the wilderness to die? And there was a lot of murmuring, with Moses. There's a lot of places where, so just listen, I want you to go murmur, 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 murmur. And you feel that energy that we get into sometimes when things aren't going the way that we think that they should. We look out there, we look in here, and we sort of murmur. It doesn't do us any good? No, it doesn't. And so here's what the instruction that Moses gave to them. Fear not, stand still, and see the salvation of it. The usual translations are the Lord, but just remember when you read the Old Testament and it's capital L-O-R-D, it's really a substitution word for the sacred name, which was I am. That's when Moses asked God what his name is, he said, I am. So see the salvation of I am, which is made for you today. So I invite you to think of it, this is our instruction as well, that when we're facing something difficult, that the first thing is to fear not. And we go, I'm afraid. I'm anxious. It's not the way I want it to be. And so it's recognizing that instead of focusing on the fear, we're called to focus on something else, to stand still, or to stand fast in that awareness of God and see what's going to happen. So here's my translation. Fear not means to focus on the creative energy instead of the appearances that are there. Because the appearances, like Sig Paulson used to say, that he called it the appearances and disappearances of the world. And isn't that the way something shows up and then it's not there anymore? Because it came to pass, right? It came to pass. It's not going to stay here forever. But stand still, place yourself. This is what another translation, place yourself. Place yourself in that creative energy. And then see what's going to happen. See how that energy of the I am flows out of you to make a difference in the world. And that's what we're called to do, to work in that way. So here's the phrase that I really want you to anchor with. God opens a way where to human sense there is no way. Let's say it with me. God opens a way where to human sense there is no way. And just go, oh, I'm so glad. Go ahead and say it. Oh, I'm so glad. Let's say it again. God opens a way where to human sense there is no way. So think about something that you're working with, that you're facing, that you're angry about, whatever, in your life, locally, universally, whatever. And just let's say it again. God opens a way where to human sense there is no way. God opens a way. So that's our gift. Moses represents that part of our consciousness that's trying to be receptive to God, trying to be receptive to Spirit, and to manage, in his case, managing all these Israelites, in our case, trying to manage our lives. But when we just, from a human point of view, it's just managing stuff, right? It's like herding cats. But when we come from that spiritual point of view, we get inspiration ideas, and we go, I never would have thought of that. Of course, because we're operating from this limited human perception. When we step into that infinite awareness, these new ideas come, these new energies come to work in it through our lives. So here's the answer that I usually get when I pray. Spirit says, don't worry, it'll all work out. And that's not the answer I'm looking for. I'm looking for a schedule, a timeline, a list of things to do to get done, so that's going to happen and change, right? And Spirit says, you can't handle this on your own. Just relax. Just sit down, be quiet, listen. And then there's a movement that happens, a movement that works out of that grows in a powerful, different way. And I always used to say, well, I'm going to fix things. And then I was reminded one time that when you fix your pet, you neuter it. So when I try to fix things, it usually ends up not working out so well. And so it's recognized that we want something else. And that human need to control can open up to God's possibilities. And that's the flow. Forever living out of a sense of wonder. What are God's possibilities? Much greater than my possibilities. And so one of the words that came to me as I was working on this was the word catalyst. And so I really think that the Christ in you, that living presence of God in you, the higher power, whatever name we want to give it, really is the catalyst. And what the definition is, a substance that increases the rate of a chemical reaction without itself undergoing any permanent change. Or another definition, a person or thing that precipitates an event. So it's that living presence of God in us that's the catalyst. And again, it doesn't need to interact because it just is what it is. It is life, it is love, it is joy, it is peace. And once we connect with it, there's just a natural flow that happens. It's like digging a well, and all of a sudden it just flows. It flows because that's what it is. It's outpouring in our lives in that way. So I'm open and receptive and responsive to Spirit. So if God opens a way where to human sense there is no way, then I need to be open, receptive, and responsive. So here's another affirmation. Let's say it together. I am open, receptive, and responsive to Spirit. Now, usually when I do an outline, I have verbs that I want you to do, but today we've got adjectives and really attitudes towards Spirit of being open, receptive, and responsive. So let's look at open a bit. And again, this, because we face things, roadblocks, things get difficult. People in our lives. And so be open that there's something there that we haven't seen yet that God can bring. And our culture really focuses on separation. The left and the right, the high and the low, the hot and the cold, all these things as if they're separate. And there's really this oneness that when we learn to live from that, brings us a different energy in our lives. And so when we consciously reconnect with the infinite source, we find ourselves in that infinite flow. It's like stepping in and just going with it. But we have to be open to it instead of just thinking that we're facing these challenges, facing these difficulties, facing these things that aren't working the way that we want them to. There's something more. And we move then from feeling separate, from feeling disconnected, from feeling lonely, to feel that we're a part of this awesome presence that has created us to be its instrument in the world, created us to be its expression, because it's waiting for us. There's a wonderful verse in one of Paul's verses that creation awaits with an eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. Creation is waiting for us to figure out who we are and to be that in our lives. And so to be open to that presence is how we begin to move to that. And again, those times that we feel it's not working for us, think of this phrase you've heard, when one door closes, another door opens. That was Helen Keller. She was deaf and blind and couldn't speak. Did she have doors closed for her? But did she find a creative outlet anyways? And so it's recognizing that whatever the appearances are, God has a bigger way. So as we open ourselves to it, it opens our life. So one of the things I find helpful, American Sign Language, sometimes the signs in that are very instructive. So the sign for open is this. So from being closed in our awareness or our attitude to being open. So let's just practice that with me. So just sit and just open. It's like when you're like this, what do you see? Not much, right? But when you open yourself, all of a sudden there's all this things, energy around you. So that's our first step, is being open to that. And then what happens then we shift from our focus on our fears to focus on our needs being fulfilled. Because fear really is just our energy field, our emotional energy field telling us that our needs aren't met. It doesn't say that there's something wrong with us or something wrong with us. It's just saying that our needs aren't met. So when we're not focused on I'm afraid, then we can focus on how do I open myself to be a part of that flow. I love in the Irish language, when they talk about feelings, they don't identify. They don't say, I am sad. They would say, sadness is upon me. So they don't identify, I am sad. It's just, well, there's sadness upon me. And a moment later, there'll be something else. And so it's just being open to, I'm not stuck with that. And so I'm open to something else, something greater. And so if you're familiar, Eric Butterworth has a book called Concentric Perspective. And so it's living from that sense, that there's this connection, this living presence of God. And I'm going to live from that, live out from that. And so whatever's out there, I can bring a blessing to it. Whatever disappointment there is, I can bring creativity. Whatever seeming lack there is, I can bring God's abundance into expression. Whatever experience of illness, I can bring life. I can bring God's life to that. And so we open ourselves to be that in our lives. So then it's receptive is the next. And so I remember the first time I heard this, that God is our source and has multiple channels. And some of the older books, they would use the word manifold. We only use that in terms of car engines or truck engines now. But manifold means many ways for it to unfold. So there's one source, but lots of ways for it to express. Every one of us, everyone around us, sometimes even the grumpy people, can be a source for us if we're present to that God in us and go, well, if God's in me, I have to admit God's in them, although I don't see it in this moment. God's in them. How can I experience? How can I listen? How can I be open? How can I be receptive in a way where that God in them can bring a gift to me? And again, they still may be grumpy, but I found a gift because I know who I am, and I can live from that in my life. And so receptive, of course, is related to the word receive, and so I looked that up. So to act as a host. And so think about, any of you who grew up in the Catholic tradition know that the host was part of the Eucharist, and the host became, after the ceremony of the priesthood, became the body of Jesus, that you would partake so that you could become the body of Jesus too. so that you could be that instrument in the world. And so to think about what we're doing, we're aware of this presence, and then we're allowing ourselves to receive that and be that, to have that overshadowing of that Holy Spirit, working in and through us. Another word of receive, I love this. I am the place where God shows up. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we were aware of that all the time? Let's say it together. I am the place where God shows up. And point to your neighbor, even though your mother told you not to point. Point to your neighbor and say, you are the place where God shows up. You are the place where God shows up. You are the place where God shows up. So then another definition of receive is to detect a signal. Like if you've got a radio station, you receive the signal. And so imagine there's this flow of energy. We can see it. One of the things, being out in like Monument Valley and some other place, it's like it took 300 million years for all those layers to compress. Took 5 million for what we see to wear away. And they go, and I'm worried about what time it is. We got to get to the next place. Yeah, and so it's recognizing that there's this energy, there's this signal, there's this love, there's this joy that's right there. All I have to do is tune into it. If you don't like country western, change it to the channel. If you do like, turn, whatever it is you want, you can tune into it. If you don't like somebody's energy, tune into that energy of God. That's what we can be receptive to. Another definition of receive is to take possession. Take possession of these God qualities. Say, these are mine. I am God's love. I am God's peace. I am God's joy. Yeah. And we take possession of that. And we embody it in who and what we are. And then there's that energy of overflow that happens in our lives in powerful, powerful ways. So again, for American Sign Language, the sign for receive is this. And you can do it with both hands too. And so so the way I think of it is this, that, okay, I'm not feeling love, but I'm going to focus on love. Right? I'm going to get that in my mind. I'm going to get that in my consciousness. I'm receiving it. I'm tuning into it. I'm being a part of it. And so when we do that, there's a shift that happens. And a shift from, instead of wondering what will happen, is to, I wonder how we will be blessed. What new good has Spirit for me now? So, it has that sense of wonder, but it's not wondering, I wonder what's going to happen now. I wonder what the blessings are that I haven't seen yet, that I want to experience, so that I can have them for me and also share them with the world, because doesn't the world need blessings? Yes, and so as we connect with them, then we can share them in our lives. Penny knows that whenever she gets an email from me, my closing is always this: bountiful blessings. Doesn't mean I'm seeing them in the moment, but that's what I'm affirming. That's what and it's amazing for me how many blessings then I have in my life. It's just because that's what I'm connecting with, working with. So we're open, we're receptive, and then we're responsive. We're responsive to what God is calling us to do. And I was thinking as we were driving over the Continental Divide, the Continental Divide is that, at this point, the waters on this side all flow one way, the waters on this side all flow the other way. And what occurred to me is that we're sort of, sometimes in life, we're on one side of life where it's not working for us, right? But all of a sudden, we get to this other side, and all of a sudden, everything seems to flow in this different direction. And so it's that shift of energy that comes as we shift our consciousness. And I keep being reminded, Charles Fillmore at one point said that in order to really have an affirmation work for you, you have to say it 2,500 times. And what I get is it's not about the number. It's about shifting from being on one side of the understanding and experience to being shifting on the other. So how many times does it take? It takes what it takes. It may take more than 2,500 times. But that's our challenge, to move that energy, to move that consciousness in a different way. And the American Sign Language for sign is, most people do it this way, but I saw one person do it like that. And what I get is like taking this understanding that I'm working on, taking this God consciousness and putting it into action. Getting it and doing it. Getting it and living it. And so we're hooking into what God is so that we can be that expression in the world. And I love that sign. I love working with that. And so how are we going to be responsive? So let's think in terms of healing. So we're open and receptive to this living, healing presence of the Christ, this life of God. So we're open to that, we're receptive to that, and then we're responsive with it in the world as we work with our own healing, as we're praying for others, as we're thinking about them. Because it's so easy to say, well, they got cancer, well, what did they do to get that? You know, is that going to help them? Does it help us? It doesn't even help us, because what it does, it compresses our consciousness. Someone has cancer. Cancer is just life expressing in a way that we don't appreciate. So let's bless it. Let's think about wholeness, that divine plan of wholeness that's there. And so I'm open to it, I'm receptive to it, and I'm expressing it. I'm responsive with it in my life and working in another outer way. Prosperity is another one. Again, because it's so easy to say, well, there's not enough. Well, that's only your appearance. That's only what you're seeing. You're only seeing not enough. You know, we were out at Monument Valley. The couple that started there, they started with nothing out there. And now there's all these things. There's the shops and restaurant and a hotel and all kinds of things. They didn't start with a bunch of stuff. They started with nothing, but they had their creativity and kept moving on. One of the things that Meredith was reading about is that Harry Goulding had found out that John Ford was looking for movie locations. So he took pictures of the monuments in Monument Valley. He and his wife went to Hollywood, found John Ford, showed him the pictures of John Ford. That's what I've been looking for. And so all these movies were made out there. And so because of that, the motel was built, the restaurant was built. So it was out of that creativity that he had for themselves. So here's the affirmation that I was so pleased. I went back to the church I was at for 30 years in San Diego, and they're still using my offering blessing that I wrote. I am one with God's gifts. That's being open, right? I'm one with God's gifts. They overflow and enrich my life. It's like I'm receptive to that. I bless the gifts and share from infinite good. So it's that awareness. Here's what I'm standing in that. I'm not looking for it. I'm not waiting for it. I'm not waiting, for my great aunt to die so that I inherit, her house. I am standing in that living presence of infinite good. And that awareness, I'm letting it bubble up in my life, and I'm going to live from that in my life. So let's just say this together. I am one. Ready? I am one with God's gifts. They overflow and enrich my life. I bless the gifts and share from infinite good. And so this is that experience that we can have in our lives. Let's look at relationships a little bit. And again, the question I like to use is, how am I a blessing here? Because we can look at it from the human point of view. There's so much pain, so much suffering, people who are disappointed, their lives aren't working, homelessness is increasing. We see all those things. How can I be a blessing here? Not just to act with our human sense of how to fix things, but from what is Spirit calling me to do? Because sometimes there's an outer expression, sometimes there's an inner expression. And so it's and we don't want to wait, for Spirit sometimes, because we're in a hurry. Think about 5 million years for those canyons to be carved. God's time is much larger than ours. God's way is much better than ours, much better. So be open to how God is working through you. Because we face these roadblocks, we face these difficulties, we face these challenges, we face those times where it seems like the enemy is behind us, ready to catch us, and there's no way to move forward. And God always opens a way. God always opens a way and has bountiful blessings for us in every moment, in every situation. Amen? So know that you are in the flow, and you can be forever living out of that sense of wonder. Okay, so I've got a song to go with that too. Thank you. Thank you. I am one. See, it's always easy to write a song because then you have to learn it. It's just like you have to learn anybody else's song too. There we go. And you'll catch this real quick. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, though there's a slide. Yes, that would be helpful. There we go. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, one with the flow. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, one with flow. Here's the other part. God is the source, flowing so free. God is outpouring the infinite glory. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, one with the flow. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, one with the flow. God is the source, flowing so free. God is outpouring the infinite glory. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, one with the flow. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, one with the flow. I am one with the flow of God's good. One with the flow, one with the flow. It's so. Thank you.
And now we will welcome Alice back up. Thank you, Blair. Yes? Thank you, Blair. How about we go this way? All right. And there you are, my dear.
So let's prepare for a time of abundance. Would the ushers please come forward? Okay. Okay. Pick up our.
Yep, it's up there.
Okay.
Here we go. We celebrate the flow of abundance by sharing of our gifts. We joyfully give, we abundantly receive. Thank you, Spirit. And Blair will start his song, God's Good is Everywhere, as you go out to get the goods.
See, last Halloween I was here, we did this one, so some of you may remember. God's good, God's good, God's good is everywhere. God's good, God's good, God's good is everywhere. And I am a channel of infinite good. I am a channel of infinite good. God's good, God's good, God's good is everywhere. God's good, God's good, God's good is everywhere. And I am a channel of infinite good. I am a channel of infinite good. God's good, God's good, God's good is everywhere. God's good, God's good, God's good is everywhere. And I am a channel of infinite good. I am a channel of infinite good.
Yay. And together, we are again thanking you for your generosity. Thank coats, thank gloves, thank hats. There are opportunities to bid on silent auction items outside in the foyer. Please look at that. If you have something you would like to give or donate, there's also an opportunity to do that out in the foyer. So thank you for that. Blair? I'm going to let you do your ad.
If any of you still
betcha.
use CDs, which I know it's an old technology now, I do have CDs, meditation, instrumental music, some of the songs that I've written that there. And my wife has brought some wonderful quilting things and some masks. If you're interested, those will be out there as well. Thanks, Penny.
It's cool stuff. Now, the one with the honeybees on it is mine, so stay away from it. All right. So we thank you, Blair, and
It's
we
been a
thank you,
joy.
Meredith, for being here. Yes?
Thanks for
yes.
having us.
Let's bring those baskets down and let's get that bounty blessed. How about we do that? Together we are affirming. We are one with
With the
source. We are in the flow of abundance. We align with the opulence of the universe. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. And together we affirm. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Blessings, my friends. Create a beautiful week.
God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through. Divine ideas of all kind. I know just what to do. God's mind is working in my mind. I see the light shining through. Divine ideas of all kind. I know just what to do. God's mind is working in my mind. God's mind is working in my mind. God's mind is working in your mind too.